This is Faisal Khan for Light Sound Association with Shamrock Boxing, and this is episode 7 of Boxing Talk with the Sugar Man, Shane Mosley Junior. Shane, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing good as always, man. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you here. And obviously, episode 7, before we get started, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit that like button, and make sure you leave us a comment. And of course, do not forget to follow the Sugar Man on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Right. All the links are below. You know, keep showing him the love that he deserves, keep showing him the support that he needs, and let's help him grow together. It's last week before we filmed episode 6, and of course, if you haven't already, make sure you check out episode 6. We were talking a bit about the UFC show, UFC 249. I've only just had a chance recently to catch up with it, and I've got to say it was a phenomenal show. You obviously spoke very highly of it as well, so that's what we're going to be basing today's episode on, episode 7. And we're going to be asking the question, after UFC kind of like took that first step during this coronavirus pandemic situation, we'll be asking the question today, does boxing and the UFC need to work together as we move forward and potentially after this whole coronavirus situation? Shane, I mean, first of all, let's get your thoughts on that UFC show itself. Behind closed doors, no fans, you could hear the bodies clapping together. Some pretty good fights as well. I have to say, I was highly impressed with the show. What did you make of it?
Oh, man, I thought it was a great show. I thought it was some great fights. You could see the desire of these guys. You could see that they wanted to fight. They wanted to, fight for their family, fight for, all of these things. They haven't fought in a while. Some of these guys, you could tell that they took the fight on short notice, and they don't care because they want to get out and fight for their family, get some money, show that they're true, champions and fighters. And you saw that, and that's what fighting is about. You're showing your desire, showing your skills, showing that, you're a true fighter and a true champion. So I think that especially throughout this experience where, the sports and fighting and all these things were taken away, and you're able to get a chance, you take that chance no matter what, no matter if it's, in a couple of days notice or whatever, you take that chance because you show if you're real or not.
I have to say, obviously what the current situation with boxing, it looks like we're going to get shows without the fans, and a lot of people have been a bit 50-50 about it. And this is why I have to give a lot of credit to UFC. They kind of are like the first sort of combat sport that have taken that step in doing shows without the fans. And I've got to say, I thought it was an incredible show, and I thought every fight was good as well. What was your thoughts on the show without the fans? What did you make of it?
Well, I think we still get the show, and that's why people are there. You know what I mean? We still get the fights. And especially if these are two guys that really want to fight, you don't need the fans. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need the fans there, at least. The fans will show, people will watch if it's a good fight. And people showed that. I mean, like, they still, so many people watch the UFC. So many people watch because they just love fighting and they love sport. So they're going to watch it because of that. And nevertheless, it was a great showing. So that's why people continue to watch. I think in 1 week, they put on 3 fights. You know what I mean? Like, and people watch. I watched every single, fight that they had because it's like, I want to watch. Is it my sport? Is it boxing? No. But I enjoyed it because it's something that is close to what I do, and which is fighting. Because fighting is similar, They may not, we may not throw kicks and things like that, but it's still fighting. It's still another man. You're trying to break another man down, and it's one-on-one. So I definitely thought it was good. And to be honest, man, if they asked me to fight a boxing match with no fans, As long as that check clears, I'm good. You know what I mean? As long as the check clears, I'm good.
I can't argue with that, bro. If you ain't getting paid, you ain't doing it. Simple as. I just want to just want to talk about a few of the fights. Of course, it was meant to be Khabib was meant to be fighting Tony Ferguson, but due to what's going on, Khabib didn't want to participate in the show for whatever reasons. And Justin Gaethje stepped in, and all credit to Tony Ferguson. Justin won by TKO in the 5th round, and another fight I picked out from the actual show was Francis Ngannou defeating Jay Zeno Rosenstrike by KO in the 1st round, which was a great knockout. Them two fights. First of all, start with the main event. What did you make of Justin's dominating performance and stepping in as the word I'm looking for? He stepped in as a replacement for Khabib and then put in that type of performance.
Well, I mean, he showed that, true championship, mentality. You know what I mean? Like, when I get the opportunity, I'm going to show up and show out. And that's what you should do as a true champion, as a true competitor. You go in, and whenever you get your opportunity, you take advantage of it. And that's exactly what he did. I do know that I think Tony Ferguson made weight or something like that, because I think the fight with Khabib was supposed to be on the 15th or something like that.
Yes.
It was and he made weight then, and then he had to remake weight again and things like that. So that as a fighter, like you had to cut weight and make weight, and then you have to maintain. There's a short amount of window that you have if you really want to be at your peak. If you did everything that you need to do to be ready at that point, and then you kind of like rehydrated and then went back, you're not going to be as sharp. And that's what it looked like. It looked like he wasn't as sharp. And of course he took it because he took the opportunity, he took the chance, because you never know. You never know if shoot, maybe this guy's not ready, or maybe this guy wasn't taking it serious. So I can go in there and I can get the job done still, even though I'm not at my best. I can still beat this guy because I feel like I am the man, or whatever the case is. So, but what I saw is he just wasn't as sharp. His punches, he did hurt Justin Gaethje in one of the rounds. I think it was like the 1st round or 2nd round or something like that. It was early. He caught him and put him down. And I thought maybe he would have taken advantage of that a little bit better, but it just looked like he was a little bit off. He didn't have the same steam as I feel like I've normally seen from him. And I think if he also would have fought Khabib, he might have fought harder or been a little bit sharper, because it's like, as well, like, if you think that, I'm fighting this guy, and then oh no, you got to fight this guy instead. If the hype was up for this guy, and then that guy doesn't do it, then it's like, I'm not giving him any excuses, but like, I think maybe it might have been a little bit of that, or just the fact that he didn't have the same date. You know what I mean? If you had to make weight and do that. So I would actually like to see the fight again, see if it would be, because it was a good fight. I mean, they fought all the way through. Yeah, he did knock Tony Ferguson out, but I do feel like it was a good fight. It was a war all the way through. So I would actually like to see the fight again, and maybe a different outcome.
I like how you mentioned the change of opponent. Mentally, that does things to people. I mean, I look back at Joshua Ruiz. He was originally meant to fight Jerome Milan, but having said that, it was a very, very, very good show. But what the episode 7 is based on is boxing and UFC working together. So what you've seen from UFC in sort of taking that first step, because we know the last 9 to 10 weeks it's been really difficult. There's been no sports such as boxing, UFC, soccer, whatever sport is out there. They've all had to stop due to the coronavirus situation. Do you think boxing could learn from the UFC in terms of the UFC making that first step to bring in live shows back on, even if it's with or without the fans?
I think that boxing would do incredible if they did the shows. People would watch on Sky Sports. DAZN, all these different ESPN, whatever, you'd get people watching. People love sport. People like, if you put football back on TV, I'm sure people would watch. There's a reason why they fill up stadiums. We fill up arenas. We fill up all these things because people love to watch sports, and you need to bring it back. And I applaud the UFC for taking the chance and putting on the shows to give the people what they want. No, we can't have the same, the filled arenas, but you can still have the fanfare. You can still have people watching, cheering from home. So I think that they need to bring it back. I think boxing needs to bring it back. I think the issue is the unity the UFC has rather than boxing. You have a lot of different promoters, different things, but maybe if they can come together, even if it's just for the time being, just to make some fights happen. I would love to see that unity to bring back our sport. And when the lights come back on, when we can bring the arenas back and people fill up the stadiums, go back to normal or go back to doing whatever you're doing. But right now, I feel like it would be in their best benefit to bring some unity in the sport so that we can put these fights together. Yeah, can one promoter do it? Top Rank put on fights with other Top Rank fighters, of course, but we want to see the big fights to have those big fights like PBC and Tyson, the Tyson Fury fight. It would be PBC and Top Rank. We need both of those people to make that fight happen. Is that the fight that people want to see? Absolutely. But you need the unity and the togetherness of the sport to make that fight happen, to make those fights that we want to see happen. So I think if those promoters come together, we can make it happen for our sport. And I think the fans will appreciate that and love that and, support us.
I've always believed if HBO and Showtime could get Lennox Lewis versus Mike Tyson to happen, anything can happen in the sport of boxing. But in terms of this, the UFC, would you be open to seeing like a mixed show? So a UFC and a boxing show. So, let's say you have 8 fights. You have 4 UFC fights, 4 boxing fights on the same night, same show. You got the octagon on one side and you've got the boxing ring on the other. Do you think that's perhaps maybe a step boxing and the UFC could take? Do you think they could benefit from it? And finally, do you think it's something you'd want to see?
I would love to see that. I think it would be great. I think that would take some time. Me as a fighter, I think it would be great. Because at the end of the day, you just want to see fights happen, especially now. You just want to see fights happen. But I think that usually fans want to see one or the other, especially if they're, UFC fans or the boxing fans. They kind of like want to pick between the two. For me as a fighter, I'm like, shoot, I just want to see fights. I just want to see another guy break down another guy. And I think I think for me, that's what I see. I see another guy, whether it's a leg kick or he slips a shot, comes back. You see the art form. You see the work. You see the breaking somebody down. That's what I see rather than, a guy took him down and he just pounded him out, or a guy just slipped a shot and knocked him out, or caught him with a great shot. Like, that's what I feel like most people see, but I see the beauty in it. And for me, I think it would be great to see them on the same show because you just see art forms, 2 different art forms together. But do I think it will happen in the near future? Most likely not. I did hear some things that Dana White was thinking about creating his kind of own league of boxing, like the UFC boxing almost. So where you would have boxing and MMA kind of separate, but under this one umbrella. Under I think it's SUFA. I think the company is. So maybe later on that's something that he'll do, but I don't know if it will be the same thing.
I mean, it's good that you mentioned Dana White, because obviously there's been that sort of flirting with boxing. I mean, I remember him doing an article with Sports Joe IE, and one of the quotes he said was, "I am getting into boxing 100%. It's still early. We're still working on it. I've got to get my stuff together, but I'm getting into boxing. It's coming. We still have to do some homework on it, and I feel like I can do it better than everyone else. I love the sport of boxing." Now, when you talk about boxing, you know who your powerhouses are. You know, the Eddie Hearns, the Al Haymans, the Bob Arums, the Frank Warrens, the big time promoters. I mean, we know Dana White is the big man in UFC. Can you see Dana White becoming a boxing promoter? Can you see him getting onto the level of the likes of the Eddie Hearns and the Dana Whites and the Bob Arums and Al Haymans? Can you see Dana White actually being a success in the boxing world as a promoter?
I think he has to have the right fighter. I think if he or the right fighters, I think if he is able to build a fighter, and that a fighter that these guys, that the fans want to see their fighters fight, I think that it could work. But I think it's going to be hard to get into the club, because it's like, the new kid in school. You know what I mean? It's like, no, we're not gonna let that guy in just too easy. I mean, especially if you've been the king of the block or the king of the playground for so long, you're not gonna want somebody else in here. Like, nah, man, you're not just gonna walk in here and try to take over our playground. You know what I mean? Stay in your own lane, homie. Get in your own lane. So until he's able to find or create a fighter that these guys want to see, and they almost can't avoid him, that's when he'll be able to be accepted. Same like all these guys. None of these guys, just like walked in. They had to kind of angle their way in. The Eddie Hearns, the Frank Warrens, the Golden Boy, PBC, all these guys, they had to create their way in. They didn't just get, let in. They had to work their way in. And I think that, and like we said, do we think that he'll just be able to come in and be accepted? No, I think he'll have to work his way in and kind of find his way through building fighters, building his own platform, and then later on. So will we ever see UFC and boxing in one arena at one time? I don't think anytime soon. At least on the main stage. I know there's some local promoters or some small time promoters in California or in little places in the United States that put on dual shows. They'll either put on MMA fights in a boxing ring or stuff like that, and then they'll have also a few boxing fights, a few amateur MMA fights and things like that, and they'll try to mix the crowd. But I only know it at a lower level. At a high level, I think you only see one art form. You know what I mean? At least right now. But I think it would be cool to see later on, see them mix.
The reason why, obviously, because you mentioned it last week before we did episode 6. The reason why I wanted to, it was another good idea to base episode 7 around boxing and the UFC working together, is because we have seen both sports come together before. And if you have to use an example, you have to use the money fight, Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. But of course, if you follow boxing daily, you see Tyson Fury has flirted with going into the UFC. You see Dillian White is more than once is open to a fight with Francis Ngannou, and of course, he started off his career in combat sport as a kickboxer. Paulie Malignaggi had a small stint in bare knuckle boxing, and Phil Brooks, known as CM Punk, went from the WWE and had a small career in the UFC. I mean, do you reckon that's something we're going to see more going into the future? Maybe MMA fighters going over to try the boxing world, or do you think now because Conor McGregor's sort of taken the first move, do you think it makes more sense for a boxer to go and try himself out in the UFC? And we know fighters are open to doing it. And we've also even heard in the past Floyd Mayweather's interested in it. What do you think, Shane? Boxers to the UFC, do you think it could work? Do you think it's something you'd want to see?
Absolutely. I think it could work. Um, you know, I think it would be to a boxer's benefit for a MMA fighter to go to a boxing ring. I think that's kind of more to the boxer's benefit, and I feel like it would be more to a MMA fighter's benefit, to go to for a boxer to come to the octagon. So, like Randy Couture and James Toney. Randy Couture said, he's like, there's no way I'm fighting this guy, like with the hands. I'm taking him right to the ground and trying to submit this guy. I'm not gonna sit here and box this guy. Like, it makes no sense for me. And like Floyd Mayweather, he took Conor McGregor to deep water, take him past those 25 minutes and drown him. And that's exactly what he did. You could almost like see exactly when like 25 minutes was up, like the 9th, 10th round, Conor McGregor just like kind of fell off the deep end. It was just like he just ran out of gas. Like, it was just like the car just like ran out of gas. He was doing decent up until that point, and then you could see when Floyd Mayweather took over. So I think that it would be to whoever's sport it is to benefit them. But I do think to stand out, to get a little bit of recognition, to get the other fans respect, you'll see guys take that leap. You know what I mean? To at least try, to at least dare. Like, I am good enough to try to go over there. Will you be successful? Who knows? But why not try?
You've obviously got to give me your honest thoughts now. Well, obviously, I mentioned the money fight. I thought publicity-wise and in terms of the build-up is probably one of the best I've seen. The fight itself, and it's no disrespect to both athletes, Floyd Mayweather, for me, one of the greatest of all times in boxing, and Conor McGregor, for me, is the biggest face in the UFC. What did you make of that fight? Is it something you would want to see again? And do you think that perhaps boxing is a more tougher sport than the UFC right now?
All right. So the first question was what I think of the fight. What I thought of the fight was it was a lot better than I expected it to be. I actually thought it was going to be more boring than that, and I thought Conor McGregor did a good job of preparing himself the best he could to try to box and to kind of showboat and bring fun to it as well as skill. And I thought he did the best that he could with what he had. You know what I mean? What was the second question? The second question was,
would it be something you'd want to see again? Perhaps, would you be open to Oscar De La Hoya versus Conor McGregor as an example, which there are talks of?
I think, I don't know if I would want to see that fight because no disrespect to Oscar De La Hoya, but I don't think that I would want to see him right now. I mean, like, when's the last time he fought? like since
2008 when he fought Pacquiao.
Right. So I mean, it's been like 12 years since you fought. Like, I don't want to see you come back and fight. You know what I mean? Like, would I wanted to see like a younger Oscar De La Hoya fight Conor McGregor? Absolutely. I think it would have been a good fight, and I think Oscar in boxing would have beat McGregor. A young Oscar De La Hoya against a current, Conor McGregor. I think Oscar would have beat him in boxing. But right now, would I want to see it? Absolutely not. You know what I mean? But would I want to see Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor again? Probably not either, because, well, at least in the boxing ring, because I kind of know what Floyd would do. kind of do a similar thing and maybe beat him a little bit better, but we wouldn't. I don't feel like we would get a different result as far as in a boxing ring. Now, Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather in the octagon, that'd be pretty interesting. I think I would consider watching that. I would buy it personally.
I mean, you and I would both buy it.
I think it would be to Floyd Mayweather's detriment. I don't think that it would be beneficial to him or give him any more credibility or any more, I think Floyd Mayweather should sit down as far as, fighting again. I think he doesn't need to fight again. He's done all that he needs to do in fighting, and he should just put it up. But when I want to see it, if you told me that Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather were fighting in the octagon, would I buy it? Hell yeah. Without a doubt. Do I think it would be beneficial for Floyd's career? Absolutely not. If I'm one of his advisors, I would tell him stay away. But that's here nor there. And what I want to see more people, go kind of like mixed sports, like one guy goes to another. I think so. I think for the right fights, I think it'd be pretty cool to see, certain guys, fight other fighters in their respective sports.
I think looking at the situation, obviously because of this whole coronavirus situation right now, I mean, if someone said to me right now, go to the corner of your street, there's going to be two guys fighting each other for 2-3 minute rounds, I'll take a chair and go watch it. That's how much I miss watching combat sports. That's how much I miss watching boxing. And of course, I've got to give a massive thumbs up to the UFC for putting that show on, for going ahead with it. Yes, it wasn't the same without Khabib, but, it still brought a lot of people in front of their television that night. A lot of people watched it. And I have to say, UFC have taken a massive step forward in terms of airing combat sport again, which is why I want to ask you the final question, obviously, of episode 7, Shane. Is UFC the more appealing sport right now?
I mean, right now, at this particular moment, yes, because they're the ones who are putting on fights. Which one, obviously, do I love more? Is obviously boxing. But who's putting on shows right now? The UFC. So are they the more appealing sport right now because of the activity? Absolutely. But who do I want to see? I want to see boxing. I want to see boxing come back, man. I want to see the, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. I want to see, Canelo and
Golovkin.
Right now? Yeah.
Golovkin.
No, Canelo and
Billy Joe Saunders.
Yes. Canelo and Billy Joe Sanders. That's what I want to see. I want to see boxing come back. I want to see, Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. Hopefully Errol Spence is doing good. Like those are the fights that I want to see. And hopefully we can see those soon. Hopefully, boxing can get this stuff together and we can put on these fights and we can get us back on the air. And I think once we start doing that, sports and life, as far as entertainment is concerned, will kind of start coming back. But the more and more we stay scared and things like that, the more you're gonna. If you perpetuate fear, you're gonna get more fear. If you perpetuate overcoming and at least trying to go forward, you're gonna get that. You're gonna get that result. The only thing that you're gonna get out of not doing anything is the same exact result. If you don't do anything, you're not gonna get anything out of it. If you do something, if you at least try, that's one thing that I loved about that the UFC was doing. At least they're trying. Dana White is not backing down. He was talking about getting his own island. You know what I mean? Thankfully that the Florida opened up and allowed him to do that. But at least he's going out and actively trying. At least he's doing what he has to do to keep his sport alive. And now it's inspiring other sports to do the same. I think Top Rank is talking about doing their stuff. The NASCAR is is opening back up. You know what I mean? All these things. But it took one person to see, okay, he's doing it or they're doing it. We're going to try. We're going to try as well. And so I think once you do that, you see the trickle down, you see the progression, you see the movement. And I think it's only to our benefit as a fighter and as other athletes. You're only going to see more and more. And hopefully we'll be back soon.
I mean, fingers crossed. So you mentioned obviously Dana White wanting to go to his own island. I mean, there's been Eddie Hearn's, currently trying to get boxing going on in his back garden at the moment. So much is happening, and the quicker
we can fight in his living room. Come on, put him in your living room, man.
I mean, listen, I think if you ask two professional boxers to find Eddie Hearn's bathroom right now, they'd probably bite your hand off. That's how much.
Hell yeah!
Because I'm pretty sure it's one nice bathroom as well. But that's obviously all we've got time for in episode 7. We asked the boxing fans and of course the UFC fans. Any combat sports, does boxing and UFC need to work together? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Shane, where can the viewers find you?
On Instagram, Twitter, at Shane Mosley Junior.
Tribe like Mosley, follow him, give him a hit. Make sure you guys get talking to him.
Yeah,
He's our favourite guy to have on here. Shane, thank you very much for your time. A pleasure as always. And we'll obviously look forward to episode 8, which we'll do next week. That's all we've got time for on episode 7 of Boxing Talk with the Sugarman Shane Mosley Jr. Thank you very much for listening to us and watching it. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Follow us and Shane on all the social media platforms. And we look forward to speaking to you in episode 8.